Back live pictures here at the Equity 1 2025 Victorian Historic Racing Register. Historic Sandown, the return of the Thunder, and I think this might be the category that is going to have a crack at doing that. I think, Phil?
Absolutely. There's some really cool cars out there, and there's some good drivers.
Yes, there is some very experienced drivers, and this guy leading the field away. Multiple Gold Star winner, multiple Australian Formula 3 champion, Tim Macro. Right alongside him is Andy Madecki. So Tim is driving car number 11, which is a Pro Sport SC91 3-litre. So you know it's got European pedigree when it says 3-litre in it, because if it was from North America it'd be double that number. But certainly there is some really good storylines here. Andy Madecki out there in car number 16, the March 76B, and this car has hung up in their own Ford dealership for decades. They dragged it down off the wall and have given it the big restoration job. Yeah. And car number 16 with Andy Madecki at the wheel will be on the front row of the grid there as well. One of the interesting ones, and I'm not discounting Kieran Patel in the number 93 Porsche there, but they are certainly got some very, very nice cars. The one that I'm talking about is Rowan Carrick, and Rowan is in that yellow and blue car. Now this has been in the family for some time. The CRD 852, which is the Carrick family car. It has had a massive restoration, and Rowan is driving the car that his dad raced. I can't think of a more, I'm going to say romantic, but certainly family links run strong in the Carrick motor racing family, and this is not lost on Rowan. He is very, very happy to be driving this car and have it back in the shed, if you like. And that's very, very cool indeed.
Well, another bit of a match-up out here. It's not so much a car that's been in the family, but Dean Tighe in a Brabham. So
yes.
Ivan Tighe was a part of the engine development of the Repco Brabham engine. So that's a little bit of a tie in there. And Dean is actually packing up his hill climb car and taking it to the UK to run in the British Hill Climb Championship rounds next year, which is a bit of a feat.
Well, I tell you what, when you've won the amount of Hill Climb Championships as you have domestically, why not try and take your engineering and driving talent to the world?
Exactly, and he's driven an Empire Wrath over in the UK, and he was built for a smaller man than he. Found it a bit difficult to drive, but he came away going, yeah, my car will go faster than this one. So, and then behind there's also Alan Foley, another hill climber. He's a bit new to the circuit racing stuff in a Kaducha, which is a really nice little car. Isn't
it? Yeah, that number 77, just a magnificent piece of work. And then car number 2 is Dean Tighe. We've just been talking about there, the Brabham BT 36. They started to grow wings, didn't they? The BTs.
Yep, and that one has been driven by none other than Graham Hill.
So some absolute pedigree as we look back through the field there. This where were we? We're up to Dean Tighe, David Crabtree in the number 15 car. That's the March car. In fact, I'm not sure that's David is out there, is he? This is a rolling start. Tim Macro will now face the field as looking at the 72. Sorry, that's the Alan Foley car. Yeah. And we are away, and have a look at that. Andy Madecki gets an absolute ripper in the March, and he goes away with it very, very nicely in car number 16, the March 76B, as they head down into turn 1. The open wheeler just gets a bit skatey here. Underbrakes Macro, fills our screens, fills turn 1 with car number 11, and the charge down into turn number 2 through the water here. Whoa, look at these cars. They just move around underneath these drivers, and I can guarantee you that but neither Tim or Andy left any millimetres underneath the fully planted right foot. Rowan Carrick, the same thing. He dispenses with the Porsche, which you would think in these conditions is in a strategically better position with not getting the wind in your face, but certainly they apply the power. This is where the Porsche will start to move up onto the back of the CRD of Rowan Carrick. But the two cars out in front there, Andy Madecki the magnificent number 16 March 76B, 1600 horsepower. Q Racing is its category.
Yeah, and you can see these cars that have got the aero on them. They drag the water up or the spray up off the track at higher speeds, and it gets really difficult for the guy behind to see what's going on in front.
Oh, big flames out the back
flame.
of that. That's that series of Porsche does well. The 930 certainly do light up the flames as we see Karan Patel in the number 93, the Porsche 930 Turbo 3 litre. And there it is,
there
Turbo winds up as Rowan Carrick, very much an open wheeler racer. We know him in the historic sense, and back in the era for his time in Formula Holden was a guy that spent many years racing Formula Holden, still has his in the garage, and we will probably see that at Phillip Island for the Classic, or the Penrite 100 Classic. He
was running the Formula Holden last year, so I expect to see him back there again this year in that car. But meanwhile, out on track, so we've got Macro, Madecki, Patel, Carrick, Cracknell, Ty, Foley and Ross in that order on track at the moment.
Geez, I tell you what, this could be at Circuit Les Sarthe at any given year about 20 years ago, couldn't it? With that wedge-shaped sports car coming at you, the Pro Sport SC91.
I love the shape of these cars. I love the big sports cars, the Le Mans style cars. They're just beautiful machines, and to see them at speed and look at the amount of spray that brings up.
And Tim is renowned for his time in Formula 3 here in Australia, but throughout Asia he's driven the bigger sports cars and the LM type cars, the modern era of this sort of sports car, if you will. And he finds himself very much at home here at Sandown, being his local track, and as does his family. In fact, I just run into his brother Adam, who's preparing cars here this weekend. I think Adam's actually working, certainly working in Formula Ford round with Tabitha Ambrose. But I tell you what, this is a great shot. I love this head-on shot, particularly with cars like this that Andy Madecki is driving, the number 16. You can see the water pick up on the tyres and get it thrown off. It's very, very graphic. And for those that like the school of motorsport, you can see the front tyre feeding the rear tyre with water as well. And it picks it up and gives it a white patch right across the tyre. And this is the sort of thing that motorsport engineers, racing engineers have to deal with every single time the driver comes in and says, I've got a lot of front grip, but for some reason I'm getting a lot of water on the back wheels. Well, that's because the front wheels are throwing extra water out.
Exactly, and it's not an easy thing to drive these cars at speed. They are very, very twitchy in those sort of conditions. Your reflexes need to be right on the money. So
the Macro car is an R Racing outfit, and the lap record is held by John Bow, and it's a 109.69 and a March 7.41, and that goes back to 2017. I'm not saying Timmy's going to get near that, nor should he be expected to be, but at a 130 in these conditions, he's only 13 seconds a lap off it, and that's what we should be marvelling in.
Yeah.
The number 16 of Andy Madecki is, as I mentioned, a Q Racing car, and the Q Racing lap record is by Ty Hanger, and that is in a March Formula Pacific. So that is a very big jump in performance to the Formula Pacific. So you're talking mid-80s, and that actual lap record by Ty Hanger goes back 20 years.
Yeah, that's a long time for a record to stand at any racetrack in Australia.
It certainly is.
But up the back straight goes Macro in that beautiful car. I want to try and shoehorn him out and get a steer of that car, or maybe has it got a passenger seat in it actually?
I think by the rules it technically will, but you might find it's just a bit of aluminium that you've got to hang on to, and there's no seatbelt in it. What is really interesting for those watching on in the grandstand is watching this particular car and Andy Madecki's car going up the back straight. All you can really see on this car is the that yellow sticker at the very top of the yellow sticker. and a big plume of water, whereas Andy Madecki, all you can see is a big plume of water going up in the air. So the race tyres do pump the track dry, and certainly the aero package that this car comes with, it will use the air that goes under the car as effectively as it does go over the car.
So just watching Alan Foley come through, they're still following Dean Tye in that beautiful Brabham, and they head on up the back straight. Alan's car is for sale, so if you want to buy yourself a Kadecha, there's one there that's for sale.
Yeah, wow, the Kadechas with open wheelers and closed top cars, you can marvel for many hours on YouTube watching Bap Romano in that magnificent Kadecha, which used a lot of Formula One gear in it.
Yeah, that was DFV Ford V8 powered, or Cosworth V8. And what a machine that was, or it still is actually. The car still exists. So
I got to say a very big thank you to Dean Tye in car number 2. It is magnificent to see this Brabham out on track. And you were touching on before, Phil, that 2026 is a special year for the Brabhams.
Yeah. A lot of research to do on my part on that. I'm not going to reveal too much of that, but there's a lot going to happen, I believe, next year around the Brabham name and Brabham cars. So watch this space is all I'm going to say. It
over the decades, the name Brabham just invokes excitement, doesn't it? That last iteration of cars that they made, the BTs, they stuck with the era of the 62 and 63, and those that built for the World Endurance Championship type of hypercars. They were just absolutely immense and were absolutely worthy of sitting on the family tree, weren't they?
100%. But of course, there's a bit of a special tie-in for me with the Brabham name. I was a bit of a toddler, and I'd heard a bit on a thing called the radio that there was some bloke named of Jack Brabham that had won a world championship, and I thought that was pretty cool. And I used to pretend I was Jack Brabham with all of my little Matchbox toys back in the day. So.
And it would have sounded something like this. And Jack Brabham has come to the line, and he has taken it out in the car in his own name.
That would be correct.
Something like that. Down the crackly radio into the colonies, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. He's still the only driver to win a car bearing his own name. So I don't think anybody's, like, he's the designer. He did a lot of the design work, and along with Ron Turanak, who is probably the principal part of the design part there. But as we see Macro there slide past Alan Foley, just made that look really, really easy down the inside. Alan wasn't going to try and put up any sort of a fight, although the car does get a bit twitchy as he comes out of Dandenong.
I challenge you next time you are watching a modern Grand Prix from any part of the world, wherever they are this weekend, to just stop and think that the guy leading the race designed, owned the company and won the race in that car. It absolutely stops you in your tracks.
Yep.
And to think of it like that, and that's exactly what Jack Brabham did. Very, very steeped in the Victorian Historic Racing Register as well is Jack.
And the patron of the VHRR, but to also think about the Repco Brabham V8. So the basis of that was an Oldsmobile V8, whereas a lot of the other Formula One manufacturers at the time were designing their multi-cylinder 12s and what have you, and special engines just for Formula One. Jack went, I'll just go and I'll use an old V8 and we'll make some bits and put on it and make that go.
And there were some great names, names like Phil Irving and Hoot Gibson and all of those sort of names that go along with the development of the Repco Brabham, and those engines were slung into so many different sorts of racing cars as well.
And Frank Hallam was another one down in Geelong. For those people in Geelong that are a little bit older, they'd remember the Hallam engine reconditioners down there. Well, they were also involved.
Tim Macro driving very, very nicely. Fastest lap on lap 4 with a yellow flag out at 12, so we won't be seeing a rapid one now. Last lap board has been shown, and Tim is bringing the Pro Sport SC 91 car number 11 to the line now. There's the 4. The Malala has gone around, but Macro will take the Group PQ&R Sports and Racing car number, race number 1. Last time round, a very handy 21 seconds ahead of Andy Madecki. But Timmy Macro gets the job done very, very nicely there indeed. Trevor Ross in car number 4. Sorry, that was the Royale that we saw go round, car number 4.
He's a bit stranded there on the edge of the track. No damage, I don't think, but well away from any of the ancillary bits that hang around the outside of the track. He should be back at the next race.
Just in the miss, it is Andy Madecki coming to the line, and we've got Dean Ty, who had gone down, was just about to go down another lap there. So Ty goes through, as does Foley, and Cracknell getting through there as well. So Rob Cracknell in the number 77. Tiga SC80 Sports, that was the closed body car just in front of this group. This magnificent looking at number 2. The subtle wings that started to appear, and then they went about 6 metres up in the air, didn't they?
They did, David.
up on stilts. They were not 6 metres, but about a metre up in the air.
Was it the Chaparral? Was it in the US that had the wing way up in the air?
And they ran the ones on the front up off the front uprights as well.
Yep.
Not the the suspension mounts. Crazy. We look at it now and go crazy, but boy, weren't they absolute pioneers of the form of aerodynamics?
100%. It's the old story. If you don't try it, you won't know whether it's going to work or not. So.
Yeah, didn't they break a lot of components?
Yeah, they did.
And there was an era where there's plenty of television, plenty of TV shows that can explain it to you as well, where Jackie Stewart tried to improve the safety along with Bernie Eccleston, a very young Bernie, trying to improve the safety for race drivers. Well, that has seen our PQ&R sports and racing cars. They will next be on track tomorrow morning at 11:15.
And welcome back. We have the PQR Sports and Racing out on track. I just see Dean Ty there in another beautiful Brabant, being followed by Owen Foley in a Kaducha. Dean Ty, all the way from Queensland, has brought that car down. He was racing in Adelaide last weekend in a different one of his cars. He's going to pack up that car that he had in Adelaide and take it to Europe, to the UK next year, and run in the British Hill Climb Championship. So he was having a bit of a play in the wet yesterday. I told him that it was the torrential rains of Queensland that he brought down, and that he needed to get used to it because he was going to get more wet weather driving when he was in the UK. Tim Macro in that beautiful car out the front, the red machine. Andrew Madecki follows him up. Then Patel, Carrick, Cracknell, tyres we were talking about, Foley, Ross, Russo, David Crabtree, Brennan, McCarthy, Little, Willing, Mills and Nolan in that order as they come around the top end of the track. And Peter Nolan will be very interesting to watch because it is a fairly quick motor car. He didn't race yesterday with the wet weather, so it will be interesting to see how he goes. Now they're going to do another warm-up lap. Always good to see these guys get a bit of extra time because and we've got a spinner already. Someone has found out just how slippery it is down there at Dunlop. Flick turn and around he comes. Safety car leads them around turn 1. Really good to see that we've got a good field here of cars, and as they make their way around the track, we just got a replay there of the, that was a bit nasty, and luckily the other two guys did miss that. Flicks it around and is back underway. Willing that was the turnaround man. Up the back straight they come. The lights will go out on the safety car shortly. Big thank you to all of the officials and those people that work behind the scenes in the preparation of getting the event underway prior to the weekend. There's a huge amount of work in getting one of these events up and running. Darren Smith knows all about that.
Certainly been a lot of work to get this weekend up and running like the other couple of events every year for the VHRR. Present, awesome to see that 48 Lola rolling around too.
Yeah, fantastic. And of course we've already had a spinner, Darren, while you were just out of the room, and that's never a good sign. But it was that corner that's caught a few out in the last couple of races, so watch that space with great intent. Cars lining up now, coming side by side. It will be a rolling start. So Macro, Madeki, Patel, Carrick, and they approach the line and away they go. Now Carrick looked as if he'd made a good move off the start there. Certainly stepped in front. Dean Ty coming up there as well. Madeki out in front. Alan Foley looking for a run down the inside of the Porsche. You're not going to make that work.
Kieran Patel just disappearing a little bit backwards here. This will be interesting to see. The vision that Tim Macro has out of this car is fairly limited, and I'm pretty sure Andrew Madeki is well aware of that, because he could have just dived down the inside there in the in his car, the Pro Sport SC91 with Macro at the wheel and Madeki in the 76B March as they storm up the back straight here. That 930 Porsche, we're looking at the obviously the 911 shape, but the 930T was spectacular with flames licking on the road yesterday. David Crabtree charging up the field there, so he's come out of position number 10, and it's in the March Formula 5000.
Beautiful car, bit of a challenge down the inside.
Rowan Carrick puts the nose in there in the family car. His car, his father raced. They've done a full restoration on that car, and it is now being driven very, very well. Of course, Rowan, we know from a massive career in Formula Holden, Formula Brabham, and I dare say come Phillip Island at the Classic, we'll see him back in his Formula Holden. Oh, there's a spinner there, and that's David Brennan going off the back there.
On our spin corner.
Yes, it's been that this weekend. Here comes the Lola sports car as well, starting to tick some boxes coming through the field. Of course, this just in the back of shot there. The number 2 coming through there as well. This is Dean Ty, another Brabham.
And he's making a bit of a challenge at throwing down the gauntlet, if you say, to Rowan Carrick. I don't think he'll be able to take it off, because it's the Brabham is a much older car than Rowan's car, so I would expect that Rowan's car should be quicker.
Great shot here, just a standing shot, static shot there as the cars come through. The 930T grabbing another cog and belching a flame out the back, which certainly was something we were very used to. Harry Witham's 930 slant nose used to do massive flames licking down the road. As we go to a replay, that was the car of David Brennan going around and just wiggling his way back through the gearbox to find the first cog and drive it back out of the grass, as we have a massive challenge now. Rowan Carrick, and they've been joined by is that Peter Nolan?
Yeah, he's come from well back. Rowan Carrick, around he goes. Dean Ty had to almost come to a complete stop. That's allowed quite a few through. Rowan Carrick is stuck. He's beached. Well, not so much beached as engine not going. He's managed to select rear gear. Backs it up, keep it out of there, and gets underway again. But that's put a bit of a dampener on Dean Ty's run. He's been overtaken by about 3 or 4 cars there and coming into the clutches of Alan Foley. Now, whether Alan can capitalise on that and make a move on Dean Ty, I'm not too sure. A couple of hill climbers together.
Have a look at this. This is Steve Willing in the March 793, and mirrors absolutely full of a fellow competitor. But Steve Willing, very interesting looking car. The Gotcha clothing brand, which was quite synonymous with open wheeler racing there for a while. Other brands like Glowweave and Van Heusen with open wheeler series. But this number 14 just getting away nicely. The March 793 Formula 2 car, and doing very, very nicely indeed. Got mirrors absolutely full there with the with Norris Miles in the Tiga SC82.
Yeah, we don't see too many of the Tigers here back in the day, but there's quite a few of them around. Tim Shankin being a part of the build of those cars in Europe, and they are very, very popular. The Sports 2000 category in Europe and America is quite big. I know some of the guys that have been running in the UK with these cars, and they usually have to break it into two separate races, like a Group A and a Group B. So good to see them, some of those cars out here. Dean Tye getting around the Porsche as he'd been relegated back one there, and he had to come to a pretty much a complete stop. Alan Foley coming up the inside of the Porsche as well. Manages to get through. Or has he? No, he hasn't. Alan Foley is the one behind the Porsche.
And you don't want to be too close. Did you see how far the flame licked out the back of it then? Yeah, that's a thing that the Germans did. They threw a big flame out the back. Don't get too close. We'll peel the stickers off the front of your car.
Yeah, that's right.
As we watch Andy Medecky now, he's wanting to try and weigh in with Tim Macro as the front of this race. And good to see the Pro Sport SC91. There's also the Lola T610 in this field, the closed car of Rowan Little, the number 48. We'll see if we can get a bit of a look at that one as this race continues, because Tim Macro's got himself a 4.3 second lead. And this car looks remarkably unspectacular compared to the Medecky car behind. And that's the advances in ride and how the dampers work. And of course, Tim will never be hurried. He is so cool behind the wheel. And I dare say the massive rear tyres on this thing here make it look quite nervous when it comes over the bumps, which is what these days is what Sandown is synonymous with.
Yeah, 100%. And of course, Tim's got that beautiful V6 Cosworth in the back of that car. Runs really, really well, and Tim, just a great driver.
Andy Medecky there as well. Son George running in the SRO GT4 Championships in the Mustang.
Yeah, of course, Andrew's a pretty fair, handy driver from over the years as well.
Absolutely, he is.
Puts his backside into lots of different things over the years and drives them all extremely well.
One of my favourite touring cars was the Oxo Stock Cubes Sierra Cosworth that he drove in the Australian Touring Car Championship.
Yep, that was a great run indeed.
But certainly did a lot of open wheeler racing, and like many Australians that were very good at open wheeler racing, we just need to look at the guy leading this race, Tim Macro. The public knowledge of these guys is one of the best kept secrets, isn't it?
It is.
Tim Macro, multiple Australian Formula 3 champion.
Yeah, and has done some quite remarkable things overseas as well.
True.
So
true too.
So we've got Macro, Medecky, Crabtree, David Crabtree trying to claw his way up to the top there in his Formula 5000. Then we've got Nolan in the Clubman, Mills, Willing, McCarthy, Dean Tye, Alan Foley, Patel, Little, Brennan, Cracknell, Carrick. Rowan Carrick has dropped a long way back with that bit of a spin that he had, and Ross bringing up the tail end. So Alan Foley in the blue car that's for sale, the Kaducha, right behind Dean Tye as they make their way up the back straight. Which Yeah, we're just spotting the big sports car coming up the back straight, and we'll have a bit of a chat about that, Darren.
Yeah, certainly. There it is, coming down through the shot as we head down into Dandenong Road. Car number 48, Rowan Little at the wheel. Oh, and that's not what we want to see out of the back of the Formula 2 car. That is something we saw back in the day, and that generally meant that there's water somewhere getting through a head gasket, and he is heading to the pits well aware of his fate there as well. So it was just behind there. We saw the car, the original Roger Anderson Racing Lola T610 HU2, was driven by Richard Jones, Don Burrows and John Bartlett, powered by the Ford Cosworth 3-litre, as we can see it now drawing alongside the 930T, a Le Mans car with true pedigree. And this car was actually owned by Victorian Bob Gill, who was the 2015 Victorian Sports Sedan champion in his Falcon. But this car he bought after the races that were held here at Sandown in 1984. Remember the 1000 for the World Endurance Championship. And Bob Gill hid this away in his workshop in Dandenong for many years. Unfortunately, Bob left us last year. Was a great protagonist of Victorian motorsport and widely known as Paran's fastest plumber. And that was where he made the money to go racing with. And he bought the car, less the engine, after the event, and had it in his workshop. And Bob actually went to the UK and purchased all the body moulds and as many spares as he possibly could from Eric Broadley.
Tim Macro had to take the grass there as he moved down the inside of another car.
And this car, of course, full Le Mans pedigree in 1982, ran at Le Mans with Brian Redmond, Ralph Kent Cook and Jim Adams, and in 1983 as number 20 was driven by Ralph Kent Cook, Jim Adams and Francois Savine. And then in 1984 they competed in it again as well. And I've got to thank Wayne Giles, who's watching on from home, for all of that information. An oracle of Australian motorsport history is Wayne, and that car, certainly his good mate Bob Gill had that car in the shed for a long time. We just watched this replay, Macro to the dirt up on the ripple strip. Typical Tim Macro, got to get the job done, got to get it done before that corner, and does exactly what he suggested on the pack.
Yep, he certainly been around motor racing long enough to know exactly what to do in those sort of circumstances. And a couple of wheels off the edge of the track, always a bit of a risk when the grass is green and wet, but he managed to get away with it.
I think Ricky Bobby put it best when he said shake and bake, and that was what T Macro just did. Should I rephrase that? The great Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, okay.
Out of turn 9, Tim Macro drives this Pro Sport car very well. A guy that doesn't put a foot wrong whenever he puts himself in a car. In fact, the Macro name from Peter, his dad, his brother Adam, and Tim, all just amazing athletes when it comes to motorsport. And there goes the checkered flag. Tim will take 2 from 2. He's another one that's got the broom out of the ute and lining it up out the back of the pits, Phil.
He has, yes, indeed.
Not going to moz him just yet, but certainly preparing for race number 3 this afternoon, which will be at 3:45. And Andy Madecki just ranging up on the back of Tim. It's probably the closest he's been all race long, even though the checkered flag has come out.
Yeah, he's probably coming up to just say, well done, mate.
As our field streams over the line, Adam Foley in the number 72 just in the back of shot there, home in 6th place. We're just waiting for David Crabtree to get to the line. And car number 51 there as well, just waiting to finish things off, and that is the Tiger of Norris Miles. There goes Crabtree, and you can tell that one, that's that thumping VHRR, returning of the Thunder.
Yeah, and don't those things sound absolutely amazing? You sit here with a Formula 5000 race and they go past, and the sound is just absolutely drop dead gorgeous.
It is interesting you raise that, Phil. My early memories of this particular track in Formula 5000 was sitting in the Captain Peter Jansen's Ginzano double-decker bus down at turn 1 and just watching the heat haze, the fuel haze coming out of the top of the car. Of course, Dad was over in race control, but Mum was a guest of the captain up there. And, of course, I tagged along to watch the Formula 5000s back in the day. And fond memories of probably some other shenanigans that were going on in the Ginzano buses back in the day as well. They were well shielded from me.
Good.
What an absolute pleasurable sight to see as these magnificent PQ&R sports and racing cars come charging down the straight. And I do like being at a racetrack where Tim Macro is driving a race car, and in this case the Pro Sport SC91. Tim will be out of a pole position. He won the race earlier on today. The best lap time at 1:19.61. I'm going to suggest that the sun has warmed up the surface a little bit more, and we might start to see some of these cars start to push a little bit harder. Certainly Tim has not come off the boil from his heady days of multiple Formula 3 championship winners. He is still a highly skilled, highly talented race driver, and winning races is what he goes to the racetrack for, whether it's running his own business in Tim Macro Racing or actually getting behind the wheel and having a drive himself. And testament to his skill and ability. He gets given a drive of a magnificent looking car here in the Shell livery. It's going to be very, very interesting because we haven't got Andrew Radecki out on track at the moment, but we do have David Crabtree. He'll be starting right behind Tim Macro.
He will. So, and if Andrew Radecki's not there, he's going to have a clean run down the side of the Macro machine off the start if he can get a good start.
Jonathan Miles is the next one there, and he will line up on position number 3. That's that number 51. The actually, no, it's not. I've got him confused there. Jonathan Miles is in
51.
Car number 51.
Okay, number 51 is Jonathan Miles.
Norris Miles, yeah, okay. Yep. And it's 2 warm-up laps and a rolling start.
So the safety car leads them down the front straight there, and you can see Macro working the tyres really hard, trying to get a little bit of temperature into those. David Crabtree, on the other hand, just sort of rolling along.
Well, Formula 5000 doesn't suffer from tyres not getting to temp too often, does it? They just a couple of little touches on the clutch and you can spin the wheels up and get tons of temperature into them. This is a genuine safety type of issue in a historic sense, that these cars do need to have a good whack of horsepower on them. Car number 6 there is Andrew McCarthy, and then we go back to Alan Foley in that number 72, and a great looking car that Alan Foley is driving. Dean Ty, and we've been marvelling at Dean Ty all throughout this weekend in the Brabham BT36, one of the early cars that started having wings, certainly out of the Brabham organisation, and great to see Dean Ty in there as well. Kiran Patel, which has grabbed our attention, that 930 Porsche 930T, and for all the right reasons, and that's licking flames on the road with the exhaust pipe out the back of that car, and filling the helmet as it was, and it's going to be Rowan Carrick again there in the number 46. So the CRD 852 with Rowan Carrick at the wheel. Great story, really a heartwarming story where Dad used to race this car, now son racing it, and what a great way to keep the heritage and tradition going in the Carrick family. We go back from Rowan, go back to Robert Cracknell, then we have Trevor Ross, Peter Nowlan. Have we had Peter join
Peter
in?
Nowlan, I don't think he's joined.
And Stephen Willing. So Andy Madecki not taking his spot on the grid. Dean Ty will be the only interstate protagonist in this one. Car number 2, starting out of the 7th position. And Tim Macro now leading this rolling start to the line. And there it is. They get away. Have a look at the Formula 5000. dumps its clutch, and David Crabtree charges on by, and without even acknowledging or a wave, Macro will monster him under brakes, and this is where the 3-litre sports car will really have to use its advantage over the 5-litre Formula 5000. Macro looking left
for a
and
way
right, and the march of David Crabtree coming well and truly under fire. There goes Macro, looks to the inside. Forever the race driver sees the gap.
And got double-ended too, so 2 cars past David Crabtree there. He just got himself in the wrong part of the track there, and once the gate was open, those cows did fly through.
Didn't they? The horses bolted, absolutely. Macro brings the other sports car through, but Crabtree in a straight line blasts on by Jonathan Miles in the Tiga SC81. So it's only a 2-litre, so when you're bringing 5 litres to the gunfight, you're in a straight line, you're going to do it. Have a look at that.
Oh, wow.
Under brakes, streams on by. And
that was a good manoeuvre, straight through Crabtree, and Crabtree's going to be really annoyed at that because he's just got so much power. He's going to blast past it down the front straight again. And
Andrew Moore in the Andrew McCarthy in the Maurer MM82 looped it at the back of shot there. And David Crabtree wouldn't have been unaware of that. So the number 6 continues on, but loses 1, 2, 3, 4 spots in the process. But a maximum attack there by Andrew McCarthy in the Mora MM82.
And David Crabtree under attack again. Managed to get past the 51 down the front straight.
Wow, Jonathan Miles left and right. He's there, here, he's there, he's everywhere. Crabtree just shuts the gate there. And wow, that was a very decent racing manoeuvre. Just said, no, you're not coming through there. I'm closing the gate. And in behind Crabtree, that is Brennan, who did a terrific job earlier on today. David Brennan in car number 12.
Yeah, the 52, just a great little car, a 2-litre, 4-cylinder, but works really, really well.
Getting a good look at these Formula cars, big, massive tyres on the rear. It's, and another one.
That was Alan Foley, I think, further back, that just took a bit of a dive off the edge of the track.
See, what's happened is that everyone's attuned to wet laps, and the track comes at you a whole lot faster when it's dry, and they just lost their brake markers from the weekend. They need to remember almost 12 months ago, as David Crabtree just gets a little bit of brake squirrel there as well. The car just moving across the surface with those slick tyres, and I would suggest he started with a low temperature in the rear tyres.
And look at the left front tyre on that. That looks as if it might have a flat spot on it. There's certainly something when that was coming towards the screen there that it looked as if it may well be a flat spotted tyre.
As they come up the hill, here is this 5,000. Bit hard as they're going top speed at the top of the hill to pick a flat spot, but certainly with these open wheelers, the tyre, and you start to see that graining like we see with Formula One sometimes, but it's all to do with those incoming tyre pressures and how they're set as to whether they come on early or late. As car number 12 goes along very, very nicely indeed. That's the dyno room car of David Brennan, their March 722.
Brennan looking to try and come on to the back of Miles as they come up that front straight, but we have Macro out in the lead doing a great job. He's got some 13 odd seconds. He's lapped last time at a 1:17.23 and has a very large margin over David Crabtree in second.
You can't tell me that Tim Macro hasn't been fettling their Pro Sport SC91, because this morning a 1:19.61 was all he could do. He's now 2 seconds a lap faster than what he was this morning. He will have been picking the brains of the crew. He'll be on the tools himself to make sure they can get just that extra little bit of pace out of the car. It would have been difficult with no running yesterday in the wet conditions, but this is poster or super example of how Tim Macro has always gone racing. Oh no! David Brennan spears off, and that's a contact with the wall.
Yep.
Luckily, he had slowed down a fair bit before he hit that guardrail wall, but has disappeared in behind the tent there, and our sector marshal was looking the other way. In fact, now starting to make his way over. Car number 12, David Brennan. Great to see David out of the car and up over the barrier there. Not great to see this car with dinged up the March 722. And it's a 2-litre car. The 51, though, being driven very nicely. Jonathan Miles getting on with the task at hand. We're sitting in P3. Dean Ty has pushed pretty hard out of position number 7
100%.
there, Phil, up into 4th.
Yeah, he's really got that car working very well. One of the older style Brabhams out there, and doing a great job. He's got 3 cars that he runs. So he's got this Brabham, he's got a Dallara with a Judd V8 in it, which he runs in hill climbs and sprints. And he also has an Empire Wrath, which a lot of people won't ever have heard of, but it's a specific built British hill climb car powered by a Suzuki Hayabusa, and he's taking that car back to Britain next year. Checkered flag for Tim Macro.
He's taken the victory, so good result there. Well done, a 1:17.08, a ripping lap. Improved himself by 2.5 seconds on this morning's run, and he's very, very happy indeed. Just letting all the trackside officials know he appreciates their efforts. And just trickling around in car number 11.
Yeah,
flashing the headlights there. Tim Macro in the Pro Sport SC91 takes the final race for the weekend for Groups PQR Sports and Racing. David Crabtree will bring his Formula 5000, March Formula 5000, home into position number 2. Jonathan Miles into 3. Dean Ty ultimately home in 4. Rowan Carrick, terrific drive there. Rowan, well done, and I'm going to say an emotional weekend for those guys in that family. Started out of 11th, and Rowan got home in 5th. That is terrific. Car number 2 there, Dean Ty, just putting his hand up, and that's Rowan Carrick right in behind him there as well. And we get a look. This is the incident with David Brennan in the March. Comes across the top of the hill. Would have been a very big surprise for number 51, who was following very closely. I can assure you there was no touch. They weren't that close, but hits the bit of an impact there. Collapses the suspension on both left-hand side wheels. But the driver just watching away through there. The speed had certainly been dramatically reduced by the time he got to the wall there. Patel in the QS2, which is the 930T, home in position number 7. And then it was it Rowan Little? Yes, it was, car number 48. Yeah. Rowan Little got home in the Lola T610, the ex-Bob Gill owned car, genuine early 80s Le Mans racer there. Cracknell and Ross home in 10th place. Sadly, David Brennan has dinged up his March quite badly. The medical team are definitely there with him now, and they'll take him back to the medical centre. We'll wait for the recovery team